Good evening, all. What are you saying? How's it
Hello,
going?
hello, hello, Age. Hello, everyone.
Hello, man. You good? It's been a
Happy New
few
Year,
months.
everyone.
Happy New Year,
It's been 15 days now
yeah.
into
Since.
the new year.
Yeah.
It's gone quick.
It has. It does go quicker the older you get, I think, but that's that. So what we're talking about tonight, intelligence agencies, psychological operations, secret agents, nudge teams.
Nudge teams. I was just speaking about that.
If anyone has any information, stick it in the chat
I
or
got,
I know.
I got some slogans here. Um, you know, the old slogans. Think before you drink, before you drive. That's one, isn't it? A psychological nudge.
Yeah, that is one.
Clunk, click, every trip. There was another one we heard a few years ago. Stay at home. No, was it? Yeah, stay at home. Protect protect the NHS.
Save lives. Wash your
Save
hands.
lives. Stay alert. Control the virus. Save lives.
Yeah, that would have been the nudge unit.
The nudge theory.
The nudge theory.
Yeah, man. Do you want to bring up the graph?
Yeah. Oh, it's all changed now.
Oh
Share
yeah.
screen.
So how is everyone doing?
There you
Hope
are.
everyone had a good new year. They didn't drink too much. They're staying out of the trouble. Some positive New Year's resolutions.
But then I suppose there's differences between nudge teams or nudge units and like advertising agencies who are just trying to sell something. Like, have you ever watched the series Mad Men? It's a bit like that, where they're all just sitting around an office trying to sell a product, but they don't care what lengths they go to like, if it's like evil shit, like cigarettes or something. You have lobbyists, but that's a different subject, I suppose.
What about
But number
working
one,
conditions?
huh?
Working conditions, that's another one.
Yeah.
Slaves and all of that stuff.
But can you think of any
Underpaid.
of the intelligence agencies? Like you got the KGB, the CIA, FBI, MI5, the Shin Bet in Israel,
We've got the British ones, MI6.
MI5, MI6, yeah.
Yeah,
MI5 is like for the UK, MI6 is for the world, isn't it?
yeah, MI6, UK's Secret Intelligence Service.
You got the NSA.
We've got Mossad, the Israel National
Oh, yeah.
Intelligence Agency.
Yeah, they got one. They got their own. Um,
Oh yeah, I
the
was. I asked
FSB
you.
is Russia and the KGB. So I'll say
I asked
KGB.
earlier. Maybe someone else might know. I heard there's only 47 known secret agencies um, that are available to the public.
I don't know. I'm looking on a page here, and it's got like 120 countries, and each country has got at least two in it. Like America's got about 20. The FBI, the NSA, the DIA. I can't even name them all. They've got loads. But we've got our own one as well, GCHQ. which is like linked to the MI5, and then you have like counter disinformation programs like the 77th Brigade. They're like teams of
77th
people.
Brigade. Yeah.
Say that again.
To know the 77th Brigade, yeah, I've heard a lot about them. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd usually stop like misinformation coming from abroad. Like that's usually what their job is to do. I'd suppose.
Infiltrate. Like
Yeah,
sometimes I see on YouTube, and I think to myself, it could be a government psyop, you know, infiltrating a live stream or something like that, you know,
that's
change
probably
the
like
narrative.
there's another one called Hot 18. That's probably them. They're the same sort of thing, but it's more like aimed at British sort of people, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Whereas 77th Brigade is more to stop international people like Russians spreading misinformation to British people that could harm the British state or whatever. That's, I think, is my gathering on it. Recording Reality says, what about anti-radicalization units? Like you had years ago, you had like the spy cops where they would infiltrate all the, I don't know, the protest movements, and they'd even have children with like the people to infiltrate the movements that much. It all came out a few years ago, or about a year or two ago, didn't it? Spy Cops, if anyone's heard of it.
Spy cops.
Yeah,
No, I
that
don't
was a
think
big
I've heard spy
like
cops.
anti-radicalization unit. That was, and you could call it that. That was going on for about 20 odd years, I think. From like the late 80s to the early 2000s. That was still going on, apparently. It'd just be a
Go,
different name now, a different program, like I suppose.
going going to these protests, I see a lot of infiltrators, if that's what you want to call them. Infiltrators, 77th Brigade, I call them.
Yeah,
Actors, some other people call them. Um, and it's just weird just seeing them, you know. You can tell they're there, you know, and they're trying to change the narrative in the protests. So if something's going on, they'll be like go in that direction, the way the police is telling you to go. You know? But
yeah,
as a
they'll probably either be like
civilian,
police from Scotland Yard or whatever it's called, New Scotland Yard now, or they'll be like, I don't know, MI5 agents and that. Because I know you used to get MI5 agents down Speaker's Corner because you had a few terrorists hanging around there, and I don't know if you get them now, but I'm not sure. Agent provocateurs, yeah.
that's right, agent provocateurs. Yeah. I'll put the link out soon in the chat. Let's just go through one or two or three points first.
Yeah, we're kind of doing 1 and 2 at the moment, aren't we? Sort of thing.
Yeah. Hello to Anonaq.
Good evening,
Look,
all.
Bright is in there.
Evening, Bright.
Agent X, hello. Ru Golops.
G Topo. Miami Rose. Who else? DeWitt.
MK Ultra.
Token.
Token Explorers. Trevor.
Miss J.
Hello, do it. Um, Mr. Tony. Hello, Tony. And hello to all the 20 people listening. Yeah. So
I mean, other than like the MK Ultra, can anyone think of any psychological operations? Like, I think everyone knows MK Ultra.
so if people
You
don't
got
know
like
what I just give a quick
COVID-19, maybe.
yeah, I'll give a quick description of what psychological operations are. If people don't know that are listening. Sometimes they're called psyops, or operations to convey selected information and indicators to audiences to influence their emotions, their motives, and objective reasonings, and ultimately their behavior of groups and individuals. It's a quick summary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Agent X says, my neighbors were recording me in my own home on my phone, on the phone, etc. That was under Spycop bill. They called Chris Convert Human Intelligence Source.
Wow.
I have to write that on the notes. Get back to you on the next show. Yeah, I'll probably do that at the start of the show. I'll get back to the comments.
Yeah, Cambridge Analytica. I reckon they use that in the Scottish referendum and in Brexit. I think they tried it out on the Scottish referendum first and then tried it out on Brexit. Do you know much about Cambridge Analytica?
No.
Where they took like the whole of the nation on sort of all their information on Facebook and stuff like that, and then started promoting ads to certain people with certain ages, like, yeah, and like sending a lot of misinformation out. And that's probably, I don't know. COINTEL, gang stalking, yeah, I've heard about COINTEL Pro and all that in America.
What's
Common
Chatham
purpose.
House?
What's that?
Chatham House, says Ananaki.
Isn't Chatham House like, it's like a place where the government go to announce certain things, isn't it? And there's a number of things that have happened at Chatham House, I suppose, over the years. Isn't it like more like government policy and world affairs and stuff? So then they can, I don't know, influence certain people and maybe like pioneer certain people, like the WEF is doing with people like Justin Trudeau and all them. They kind of influence them into a certain way. That's what Chatham House does for British politicians, maybe. Culture is a psychological operation. Yeah, maybe. Because, like, I don't know. Like, when a culture's created, it's like a spark of something. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it gets too big, so the state or someone has to control it or make money out of it. I suppose that's how cultures are hijacked. Where you gone? Are you back? Mockingbird, yeah, Gladio, Stay Behind Networks. Gladio, that was Nazis, wasn't it? Stay Behind in Ukraine and Italy. Operation Bluebeam, they reckon that's like aliens. Yellow Book, I've never heard of that. Looking Glass, all these projects. and programs are not for the common man's benefit. I don't know what Yellow Book is.
Yellow Book.
Yeah, that's a new one.
Oh, we got our first guest on.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Give me 2 fingers to know it's not some sort of AI or anything like that. Now give me 1 finger as well. Yeah. Okay. We'll let you on. Yeah.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, recording reality.
How's it going, bro? You all right?
Oh, I ain't seen you for a while, man. How's it going?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Hanging in there.
Good.
You guys had a good Christmas, New Year?
Yeah, same every year, I suppose. It's not bad.
Yeah, so Chatham House, the worst thing to come out of Chatham House is the Chatham House rules. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard of it. I couldn't quote you on it,
So,
but
there are certain government meetings that they have that they don't want any record of. And if somebody invokes Chatham House rules, it's basically a meeting that's held behind closed doors where there's no minutes taken, there's no record taken of the meeting, and it's. Have you heard of an organisation called Common Purpose?
yeah.
Basically, at various points, it was the Labour Party under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown that first started instituting this, and it was
what were they
training.
called?
You what? Sorry, mate.
What were they called?
Common Purpose.
Common Purpose.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was basically like an initiative to put key people that had this particular training into key roles within governmental organisations such as the local education, the council, the police force, and they're very, very cagey about it. And somebody made a lot of money providing this training to these people in key positions. And they don't talk about what, obviously, because it's all done under these Chatham House rules, which means that there's no minutes taken. You can't freedom of information request any of it because it was actually, the training was given by a private organisation, so they don't have to respond to freedom of information requests. It's in a non-governmental department. But like you said, there's an agenda that was laid down by this organisation back in the 2000s, and we're probably seeing what's come to fruition of it now. It's probably the institution of the degradation of the NHS, for example. There are managers that are obviously in key positions that could have, years ago sounded the alarm bells and said, there's something wrong here, there's something wrong here. Very, very rarely do you hear the staff of the NHS speaking out against the NHS. I mean, obviously they are now because they're on strike and they're wanting better conditions and better pay, and they deserve it, to be fair. But that's another thing as well. That's how much of a psychological operation do you think it is when the government are putting, if you ever watch the news in the morning, they have certain politicians that essentially do the rounds over, around the news outlets and
Morning
the radio
TV,
stations. Yeah, of course they do. And, they'll sit there and they'll say, well, the nurses are just being greedy. We can't possibly give them what they want. We can't negotiate on wages. We can't change any of that because that'll fuel inflation. But what they're not telling people is, well, what's really fueling inflation is the fact that we printed water, we printed money like it was water back in 2008, and then again during the pandemic, and now we're wondering why the price of everything's going up when the market's flooded with all this liquidity.
Unanswered questions.
Who's got questions? Sorry.
No, the questions that you got, no one's got the answer to them.
Well, it just defies logic, doesn't it?
That's it. Yeah, it's all a joke, man.
I think
I've got to ask myself how much of this present situation, this present circumstances, is actually orchestrated.
Yeah, I was just about to say the government, they kind of like to orchestrate and control both sides of the narrative.
That's right.
Same with the NHS, and they like to use the NHS. Like they bring it out every now and then, and it gets people angry and riled
Hang on,
up.
hang
and
on.
all that.
At 8 o'clock, we all need to go and stand outside. And
Exactly, yeah.
has anybody got a pan and a wooden spoon? Dong, 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 dong.
And then like what? Like a year and a half, 2 years later, now they're all getting fired, and they're not. They haven't.
Do you know
got
what?
any- well,
Do
they're
you know what
saying they're
I'd
not
do?
getting paid enough, but
Do you know what I'd do if I were nurses? I would go en masse to my local council office, and all of you say, we're all here to pay our council tax bills. This is what we were paid with, and this is what we're paying you back with. Yeah? Because it amounts to the same thing. The government is fucking these people over after saying during the pandemic, oh, they're our lifeline, they're our last chance. If the NHS collapses, we're all fucked. Fear, fear, fear. Yeah? But now they actually want a fair shake of the fucking stick. They're the bad guys.
they've probably run the NHS down, and so far that it's going to be cheaply sold off in parts. Well, it already has been cheaply sold off in parts.
It's exactly what it's for.
There's
to
probably about
devalue it.
3% left that is the NHS.
So I've seen the coin from both sides. I lived in the States and I actually worked in a hospital. So I've seen how the United States healthcare system works.
Insurance.
And yes, the insurance. But I think if you had a combination of both systems. So the problem with the NHS is that there are massive inefficiencies because the money that's there doesn't belong to anyone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's public money, and they know that if they use it, they'll get more. Or waiting times will go up and the government will look bad, yeah? So the entire system is very, very inefficient. And governments don't do very well at running things that require a high amount of efficiency. The best way to get efficiency actually is through a capitalist organization. But what the American system falls down is not only do they allow the hospitals to make a ridiculous amount of money on the services that they provide, they also allow the insurance companies to make a ridiculous amount of money selling people insurance premiums. And some of these insurance premiums are absolutely exorbitant. They really are. They're far more than most people can afford. So most people don't have healthcare. And what happens is, because they don't have health insurance, when they get sick, they just turn up at the ER because the hospital has to treat them. But then nobody pays for that. So the hospital has to then inflate the prices that it charges everybody else, i.e. the insurance companies. The insurance companies negotiate with the hospital to get a preferential pricing. But what that means is if you haven't got insurance and you've got a good job, for example, but you just happen not to have insurance, if you do get sick, you end up having to pay an absolute fortune.
So do you think, right, that, well, they have already been doing it for the God knows how many years, and they'll be doing it now, is they're going to sort of nudge us into this, like, buy your own sort of health insurance, and you buy in private. There's a lot more private doctors and dentists around now, and
there are, yeah. You know, it was on the news this morning. One of these health ministers doing the rounds. We actually import more skilled NHS staff than we make for ourselves. So we import more staff, you know, through immigration. We go to other countries, typically what some people would consider to be third world countries, poorer countries than ours, and we entice their doctors away from those communities where they're needed to come over to our country to serve our needs, because we treat our doctors so shit that nobody wants to be a doctor.
So what about? Well, let's get on to, like, you know, the actual subject now. Sack the NHS, but do you think that they are? No, that's good. Do you think they use obviously they use the NHS as like a tool to? It's like our weakness, isn't it? Or not mine really, but it's the British public as a whole. It's
part of our national identity.
And yeah, they'll have nudge units sort of working on everything, all sort of daily posters and stuff to do with, you know, during the COVID-19, they were, pushing out everything.
It inspires feelings of patriotism because it's linked to our national identity
as well. Yeah.
And it's part of who we are as a country. We sneer at the Americans because of their healthcare system. We're like, oh, well, we've got the NHS. But actually what we're realizing is that after 12 years of Tory fucking draining, it's fucked. It's not fit for purpose. But yeah, we do pull it out and parade it out like it's something to be really proud of. But, you know, it's not something to be proud of at the moment. It's not in a position where we can be proud of it because it's not working.
Or do you think that the government have pushed us into believing that it's not working, and we're getting so fed up of it now? It's like, oh, fuck's sake, I'm going to go and get a doctor's. I'm going to go and pay for my own.
When you've got people waiting
I had to pay for my own dentist because I thought, I'm not waiting 2 months to get this sorted out.
When you've got people waiting 12 hours for an ambulance when they've had a stroke, there's something broken. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not working. If that's what it takes, if it takes 12 hours to get an ambulance, something's not working. So
then you got people in, you know, like from common purpose in positions of the NHS and the government and all that are actively not destroying the NHS but moving it over to an insurance base.
You see, I think that the idea of national insurance will still exist because the government's not stupid. When you first start working, you start paying into your national insurance pot, yeah? Now, you only really start to heavily draw on that as long as you're relatively healthy through most of your life. You only start to draw on that in your old age, you know, because your pension comes out of that and any healthcare that you might need to receive when you're getting older, yeah? Everything else, the government just considers as maintenance because you're essentially a worker drone, yeah? So they know that during the course of your life, keep your health relatively well, and then when you're in your old age, you know, give you some pension. But to be honest, when you're in your old age, it's in their interest for you to die off sooner. It is, because it means that they've got less pension to pay you.
Yeah. So what? I've just seen a word that I know about. What do you know about the Tavistock Institute? Because it reminds me of Chatham House. It's pretty similar, but a different thing. I know
I've never heard of it.
What was it to do with now? It's like human relations and sort of social, I don't know, like society basically. And you get like people going there and doing talks about how to change society in certain ways politically.
There's a number of influential think tanks like that are trying to mold society in the way that they think it should be shaped. But I mean, ultimately our society's been bought and paid for long ago, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's the people that are in control of it have been in control of it for a long time. They're entrenched in their power. And we're talking, this is generational. This is not just, it doesn't change hands when one person dies. It stays in the same bloodlines. It stays in the same, it's the wealth, the money that generates the power.
In people, people in like the FBI and MI6 and all that, do you think they're like, they come from these wealthy families? Some of the big agents.
So
most of them will come from the families, won't they? The big families.
Yeah, actually, you are right. Things like the CIA and the NSA, the main intelligence agencies, they're all inside men. Yeah, they're more than likely graduates of Harvard or Yale, and most of them are a member of essentially the Skull and Crossbones.
Yeah.
These fraternal orders that they get involved in the college, and it basically sets them up through mutual back scratching for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And obviously, in an environment like that, it's not a case of what you know, but who you know that gets you the jobs. There's a lot of nepotism involved in, especially, the quasi-political recruitment. When you start getting higher up in these organizations, the recruitment becomes less skill based and more ideology based. Does that make sense?
Kind of, yeah.
So if you're recruiting a field agent, you want someone who's highly technically skilled, yeah? Especially if it's like wet work, for example. If you're going out to effect a termination, and you want that person to be excellent with a gun, obviously, or if not with a gun, with a multitude of different techniques that he could use to effectuate that termination. Now, people like that, you want people who are meticulous and good at following orders. Yes. They tend to recruit for positions like that from ex-military.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. Now, the people that those guys just follow orders. The people that have the real power are the analysts and the ones that make the decisions. But you don't necessarily need one of those to. Do you know what I mean? You don't. The higher up you get, you don't necessarily need the same skills as you need lower on the ladder.
No. More
like
experience in it, the people at the top.
Yeah.
That have been there years and years, and they've had to fight their way to the top. And
I watched an absolutely fascinating movie on Netflix the other week, and it was I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically about, it could have been called The Recruit. But it was basically about this guy who got made to when he was in college, he got made to snoop on his teacher because they thought his teacher were a Nazi sympathizer. And anyway, so he grassed his teacher up to the intelligence agencies. And then it turns out this guy who was his teacher was actually a British agent working undercover to try and draw out the Nazis in America. It's really, really interesting. It goes into the background of the CIA and how the people in those positions got those jobs. And like you say, a lot of it is down to things like skull and crossbones and knowing the right people and being associated with the right people, Yeah,
I think.
Sorry, man. Thank you to Batman for the $8.99 super chat. He says, "Hey local, been listening with interest. Here's some cash. It's always better than the clap."
No, 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 Batman. I love Batman. He's a great guy.
And we've got Rebel Bert 1970 with £10 donation. Super chat. Keep going local. Cheers, buddy. Thanks, man, for the support.
Big up, Rebel.
Yeah, man.
It's good, that, mate.
Sorry, guys.
It shows that people want to they want to talk about this sort of stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
has anybody heard of Porton Down?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what
That
it is?
is oh, where is it, man? Isn't it not near Wales? It's near Wales, but it's in England.
It's like on Salisbury
No,
Plain.
no. It's near Southampton. It's where they do a lot of like what do they call it? Like virus testing. They've done there's loads of different units there that do loads of different things. But yeah.
Do you know they actually they ended up having to admit that they had intentionally discharged pathogens over various areas of the country to test the effects of aerial spraying of pathogens. I mean, the pathogens that were spreading were fairly benign, yeah. They were fairly benign,
yeah.
but they were testing the equipment to see if it would be feasible, if they needed to spray populations elsewhere in the world with things more nasty than what they were spraying. And they used the local doctors to monitor people reporting with, you know, these particular symptoms, so that they could monitor how far how effective the dispersion method was.
Yeah.
And all sorts of different stuff has happened surrounding that Porton Down. There's a multitude of different leaks and stuff that they've had. They've had, I think they've had foot and mouth disease leak from there before now.
And what do you call it? It's about 30 miles away from, do you know where the Russian guy got poisoned, and they said
Oh yeah, the Novichok thing.
Yeah. And there's literally like 3 or 4 places in the whole world that place that Novichok can be made. 3 of them are in Russia, but then there's one in the USA, and there's that Porton Down.
So what do you think? We're talking about, you know, the black ops side of things. Do you not think that the far scarier organizations are the ones that we haven't heard of, the ones that exist that don't have any sort of acknowledgement by anyone in authority?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's
plausible deniability, isn't it? If you've no record of them, they're off the books.
It's like the biggest companies in the world: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. That no one knows who the actual owners are, but they all own each other. You know what I mean? It's like that's one of the biggest sort of clubs, I suppose. But then lower down in the intelligence world, yeah.
So the Americans have the American equivalent is the CDC in Atlanta, isn't it?
You've got Fort. Forget what it's called. Fort Lauderdale? No, not Fort Lauderdale.
That's a federal military prison.
Is it?
Yeah, Lauderdale.
No, there's one.
Oh no, it's at Leavenworth.
Forget his name now. Fort Dedrick. That's their version of Porton Down is Fort Dedrick. Remember now. And some even reckon that's where like they grafted on parts of the SARS-CoV-2. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But
did you ever hear of the Tuskegee experiment?
Tuskegee, no.
So in the 1930s, the U.S. government, the military under the instruction of the government, administered herpes to like over 200 black men, and just so that they could monitor its progress through the community.
No, that's crazy.
And then obviously these people lived unknowingly, they didn't know that they'd been given it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Can you believe it? Just, oh yeah, there you go.
Well, that's how they killed quite a lot of the Red Indians off when it was putting, you know, smallpox.
See, there is debate over whether or not it was.
Yeah, there is debate about that. I knew.
Whether it was intentional. I'm not entirely certain that it was. I mean, what you got to consider is that the Native Americans had no natural immunity to the diseases that the Europeans were bringing over because they'd never encountered them. They never had flu or measles or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Scarlet fever, a multitude of other illnesses that the Westerners we've got the immune system to just shrug it off. Measles is a childhood disease that you have when you're tiny, you know what I mean? And most kids just they got spots for a few days and they're fine. But you give it to someone who's never had any exposure to it and it just tears through them. And it's happened numerous times. I mean, there's been island populations that have been wiped out when the British have sailed up on the boat and been like, hey, hello, everybody. Here's smallpox. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a series called Guns, Germs and Steel.
Germs and Steel.
And that basically details the way that the West conquered the Americas. That's essentially what it was through: guns, germs, and steel.
Yeah,
the steel of swords, but because the guns at the time when they were during the conquest, they weren't great. They were all, you know, I don't even think they had flintlock rifles then. I think they had the one where they had to, you know, they had the burning wick and they had to blow on it. Like the fused rifles, but
yeah,
well, muskets. Yeah, that's the correct term for a minute. A musket. Oh. Is anybody else going to jump on or say anything interesting?
We've got another thing.
All right, let's see how many of these we recognise. So I'm saying that the one on the second row down and second from the left, that is to do with Germany, almost undoubtedly.
Yeah. And then you got MI5 two to the left of that. And below that you got Shin Bet, which is Israel.
Yeah. The third row down on the far right is the Australian Secret Service. I would be willing to bet that the one on the top left is, I want to say it's something to do with New Zealand, maybe, because we can see the Australian one, but that constellation in the center of that circle is the Southern Cross. So it means it's a Southern Hemisphere country, and the only other Southern Hemisphere country that I can think of that have a, you know, an intelligence agency to speak of would be either New Zealand or South Africa.
Look at the one right at the bottom in the middle is Pakistan. That's a bit of a weird one. Is that a goat or?
That does look like a goat. Obviously, I think the one to the right of that must be the KGB.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one, the Canadian one. To
Yeah,
left.
the one on the far left is the American, isn't it? The CIA. I bet the one on the right, the one on the far right at the bottom, looks like one of those three-headed. Is it like almost like a Babylonian, Mesopotamian three-headed lion, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, is that something to do with Saudi Arabia, or perhaps one of the Arab countries? Are people guessing in the chat? I'm not reading the chat. Oh, actually, the one above the CIA, I bet that's Saudi Arabia. The Jewish one is the one next to that, the one with the candle holder on.
Shin Bet, I think it's called. Yeah, that's their secret agent.
So the one next to the British one must be the Egyptian one. Look at the Eye of Horus.
Oh yeah, and the snake holding the
Yeah.
snake.
That's another Teutonic eagle in the one on the other side of the British coat of arms. That
could be any of them sort of like old Germanic countries, maybe.
Well, I want to say it's reminding me of like the Bilderberg group
with the crown on the top.
Mm.
I don't know what that is.
The one on the top right-hand corner, that's actually got somebody's portrait in the thing, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The one below it's Spanish. That's the Spanish coat of arms in the centre of that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Above that,
Just
above that globe.
Oh, here's a good picture. I'll put up quick. Wait, where is it?
The esoteric symbolism is because most of the images that you can see on the screen are as a result of European heraldry, and a lot of it has, you know, hidden background meanings that traditionally were only the knowledge of the people who were lucky enough to be taught about heraldry.
So this is all around Southampton, I think, or above that, just above Southampton. Like, it's got the 77th Brigade, the Army, Porton Down. Have you heard of Quinta Q?
I haven't, no.
Quinta Q, they're a big like data company, I think, for all the intelligence agencies.
Batman worked for the 4th Secret Government Intelligence Agency, DI, Defense Intelligence, and he knew about the war against Syria 2 hours before it happened.
Who's that?
Batman.
2 years before it happened.
2 years before, sorry. What is going on? I'm not even drunk or stoned, really. Wow. Well, I would expect that Batman would probably know about something like that before it happened, though. He's got connections, hasn't he?
Someone in my workplace used to work for MI5, and he told me something that I can't say to nobody. Can't say it to nobody. A secret location that one of these secret nudge teams are based somewhere in London, where you think is a museum, but it's not. It's actually an office full of agents.
So, do you think that there are teams of government-paid sociological influencers
Yeah, there's got to be, or they'll boost like certain people that holds pretty similar narratives to what they want to push, maybe.
So, can you think of any examples of people like who that might be? Who might the government essentially? Because it's like co-opting someone, isn't it? Making them controlled opposition. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can we put the
Like, I don't,
scribble back up?
like, for instance, I've said for years and years, I don't think David Icke is like he's part of the government or a secret agent, but I think they allow certain things that he says to get through because I think a lot of it's like.
Do you think perhaps the stuff that
bullshit.
they allow to get through is so ridiculous and absurd, it discredits some of the other things that are saying that actually have merit?
Yeah, it does that as well. Yeah, it's.
He doesn't do him. He doesn't do himself any favors with the outlandish shit, does it? To be fair.
Oh, it does. He makes so much money from it all, whether he believes in it all or not, or he thinks it's true or not. I think he makes so much money every year, like a few thousand, enough to to not have to work his whole life.
Does he even have a YouTube channel?
I don't know if it's all been shut down or not anymore.
Did he not get like put into like a pariah status like Alex Jones? Hey, he's a fucking nutcase.
Yeah.
Batman. Batman says, yes, local. I too worked in secret buildings. No names on the front. Not even the neighbors knew what went on there. I'll tell you something. What I was told by this individual, they're living among us. We don't even know it. It's a secret. We don't know what's going on. You know, when we're standing in line at the shop, yeah, to buy our cheap clothes from Primark, made by slaves. Yeah, the person behind us could be a secret agent.
Secret agent man, secret agent man. It could be one of us. They could be among us, you know.
Could well be.
Type 1 in the chat if you're a secret government agent. And bear in mind that if you are working for a government organization, you are under obligation to identify yourself when requested to by a member of the public. It's in your own policies. So press 1 in the chat if you're a secret agent.
But what happens if it's on the Chatham House rules?
Chav Chelios is a secret agent. J Topos want the secrecy. Secret agents don't shop in Primark, no. Don't they get tailored out on Savile Row, wasn't it? In the Kingsman. That suit shop on Savile Row.
Oh yeah.
They can recruit regular people to gather intelligence, stalk and spy. Wow. Okay, grass up your neighbours, guys.
I got a good picture here as well.
That's what they told us to do during lockdown, isn't it? Grass our neighbours up. If they're gathering in more than 2 people, what was it? 5 people or something?
Yeah, well, they did it with the terrorism thing as well, wasn't it? That was one of those nudge things. See something, say something, report it. See it, say it, report it, or whatever it was.
These are all like nuclear-proof tunnels leading to one leads to the MI5 building or MI6. Is it MI5 or MI5 building? Yeah, and then it's linked to all the cabinet office, the treasury, the Ministry of Defence, and they're all like nuclear-proof.
Yeah, no, you got to understand. the majority of those, they say they're nuclear proof, yeah?
Yeah.
They're not thermonuclear proof.
No.
All that infrastructure was designed to withstand an atomic weapon, but not.
Probably in the 30s, wasn't it, or 40s, whenever they were built.
No, it'll have been when London was rebuilt after the Second World War. It'll have been in the late 40s, early 50s. All that infrastructure will have been put in place, but at the time, it'll have been able to withstand the bombs that they had in the 50s, which until the Ivy Mike bomb runs, they weren't making the thermonuclear bombs. You know, the fission fusion weapons.
Know what they're doing now, yeah.
Well, look at what the Tsar bomber can do. Do you think them tunnels are going to offer any protection if the Russians drop 100 megaton nuke over London?
No.
Have you seen those? Have you seen? This is something that you might find interesting. You can get up onto your on the screen. There's a website that you can go on where you can project the fallout and the death rate from various nuclear weapons, and you can basically drop the bomb on a map, and you can see where 100% mortality zone, 70% mortality zone, 50% mortality zone. If the wind's blowing this way, this many people are going to get cancer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. And you can see if with the size of nuclear weapons that are available, that can be made, we'd be fucked if they decided to use them. And the thing is, the Ruskies have got fucking loads of them. Yeah. They got more than the Americans,
But they'd come over Scotland way, wouldn't they? Scotland's our weak point, apparently.
I wouldn't have thought Scotland would be
not a weak point, but
it would be amazing. Scotland would be a target, and the reason that Scotland would be a target is because our nuclear deterrent is based in Scotland.
Yeah, exactly.
We do have nuclear capable jets. And we do have nuclear capable jets that are on aircraft carriers as well. And obviously there's one, as long as the ships, the U-boats, the submarines aren't in port, there's obviously the deterrent that's posed by the Polaris intercontinental ballistic missiles that are on board most of those submarines. Trevor says he had enough of the nuclear threat in the 70s. I bet you fucking did. I bet you didn't think you'd ever be living under the same spectre again. Does anybody else think that? What about this sort of climate of crisis that we have going on at the moment? Can anybody remember a period in history, in our history, when we've just gone from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the, do you know what I mean? And it doesn't seem to stop, not ever. Things just seem to be getting worse and worse and worse in every way that you can imagine, in every single field.
I suppose these people they stay in. I was going to say they stay in power through chaos, isn't it? It's constant chaos. They can stay in power, and people are constantly trying to, level up to how they were before. But
history doesn't play out in terms of history, though, does it, Age? Because stability leads to long-running regimes. Yeah, when you have instability and chaos, look at what happened. Excuse me, in Russia during the First World War and the Russian Revolution and the rise of communism. And the only reason that the Nazis got into power was because the political situation in Germany, which was a monarchy before the First World War, ended up being now it's supposed to be a democracy after their entire existence up until that. Granted, they hadn't been a nation for very long, but they were a monarchy, and now they're thrust into being a democracy, and obviously it gives an opportunity for a dictator to take over. So chaos, in some respects, is a ladder. The same way that I don't know if anybody watches Game of Thrones. Peter Baelish says that, and I love that quote. Chaos is a ladder to someone who is an agent of chaos.
Yeah, it's
chaos.
Like if when there's nothing going on and it's everything's nice and England's in the World Cup and everything's nice, then people start like, what about what the government's just done, or what about that, or people start noticing. But when there's like constant conflict, everyone's having to battle each other, and lesbians are fighting people that hate lesbians, and black people are being called racist names, and it just goes on and on and on.
When was the last time you remember it being just like okay?
I'd say probably before 2007, 2008, maybe.
What about 9/11? Did that not fucking, and the whole terrorism thing around that?
Oh, actually, yeah. But
before that, you had the IRA as well doing shit in British cities.
Yeah, but then again, I was really young and I wasn't into like the news and all that shit back then, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, but you had to have been aware of like the IRA blowing up fucking central Manchester.
Oh yeah, I was living in Manchester at the time. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. That sort of thing. I remember as a kid thinking, well, if they can do it in Manchester, they could do it in Huddersfield, they could do it in Leeds, they could do it anywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I don't know, kind of got on after a couple of days and everyone forgot about it. Then there was the guys in the prison, like on the roof for like God knows how many weeks. That was the next thing. And then there was, I don't know, maybe before 9/11. But then running up to the millennium, everyone was saying, "Oh, we're gonna
all
die.
The computers are gonna crash, and the planes are gonna fall from the sky."
Yeah, so
all because a clock doesn't know how to tick over to the year 2000.
No, that was. You have like scarcity and scary things that it makes people buy things.
That's what it is. Everybody went out and upgraded the computer.
Exactly.
Oh, it's Y2K compliant, this one. Oh, Jesus. What sort of computer do you think they'd have had to have been running that it only had fucking 3 decimal places for the year?
It's mad. And then Bill Gates appeared.
Oh, yeah.
With Microsoft.
That was early 90s though, to be fair.
95, yeah. Windows, X. MS, Windows MS.
Windows 95 came out in 1994, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Matty is back, says secret agents all over YouTube. I have to agree with that, yes.
Call them out. Who are they?
Soon.
Name some names.
New year, new me on this live stream drama stuff.
But I don't know. I reckon unless you've got like thousands of followers and you've got a bit of clout and you've got a bit of sort of power over a number of people, I don't see why the government and agents would sit in YouTube like lives. Maybe the really big ones they would, but
they would.
I think during COVID there was just a lot of egos and a lot of people that were scared about the future and what's going to happen, and everyone was calling everyone agents and calling everyone out. But I don't think there was any agents around there.
There's a billion people that have signed up to YouTube. You know, that's 1 billion people there. You know, I think
Yeah.
there'll be something going on secretly.
I think they hang around more like Speaker's Corner and stuff like that because, you know, obviously there was a guy there that was hanging around there for weeks, and then he went and I think it was the bridge one where he tried stabbing loads of people, and that Polish guy came out with a big sword and stabbed him down. And I know someone told me that there was agents hanging around the park there, so they hang amongst sort of big events and maybe online like live streams and that.
Matty back says they use them in small chat rooms to disrupt and lead in wrong directions. Trust me.
I can believe that, because when you consider that this is like, do you know how I imagine this? I imagine this as almost like the old Roman Forum, where it's a place where people go and they speak their mind and they exchange ideas.
Yeah.
And in order to make sure that the status quo is maintained, there are certain ideas that are considered to be dangerous. Not necessarily from the perspective that they, I mean, although some ideologies, I'm sure, do lend themselves towards violence and the promotion of violence, there are some other ideologies that are entirely peaceful, but promote the disruption of the status quo. I mean, Just Stop Oil, for example, are an example of that. What they're doing is entirely non-violent, but they must be stopped from doing what they're doing because it's losing the economy money and people are getting pissed off. Basically what it is. And they have people that control the narrative online regarding that. You know, there'll be people that are
But at the same time, though, Just Stop Oil, that would draw like millions of people in to follow their campaign as well.
Yeah, but obviously the objective of the intelligence agencies in an operation like that would be to discredit and disrupt that person's message.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a multitude. You've seen it yourself. If somebody chooses to target to disrupt your live stream, it's really, really not difficult to do. It's not. You just palm bomb it. Simple as that, don't you?
Yeah, I suppose.
Or I mean, there's a multitude of other things. Play copyrighted music. Use gratuitous profanity, or do you know what I mean? There's a number of ways to sabotage someone on YouTube, and that's before you go to the extent of, you know, digging into people's pasts. I bet there's people online that have histories that they don't want disclosing to the public. How many people have been doxxed?
A lot of people have migrated from YouTube now. I think there's so many people on TikTok now, and fuck knows what else, Mastodon, and
well, does TikTok allow you to do things like live chats and stuff, live streams?
Oh yeah, I don't have a TikTok account, but someone showed me like a live, and there's this girl on there, and she makes like hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and it's all just people arguing and like in each other's lives. And it's exactly the same as YouTube, but on TikTok basically, and it's just got even bigger than YouTube now.
Well, maybe we should take a look, migrate over to TikTok, become a TikTok millionaire.
I can't even be asked to go on YouTube anymore. I just
no, have you heard of that guy at Wakey? Have you heard of a place called Wakey Wines?
Wakey Wines in Wakefield, where they sell.
Yeah, that's just that road from me. You know, we're gonna go and audit that. Really?
They do it, man.
We're gonna go and audit it because I think that guy's an absolute fucking prick.
I found like bottles and bottles of that shit for like £2 round my way. There was stacks of it. And he's selling it for like £100 a bottle or something, wasn't it? It's ridiculous.
More
like
than
that.
£1,000 a bottle.
Oh, I thought it was £1,000 a crate of 6 or something. Yeah.
Whatever it was, it's extortionate. I mean, I don't know. It's just I can't get my head around it. I really fucking can't. And another thing I can't get my head around is the fact that people are willing to pay these prices for pop.
Yeah.
For fucking pop.
It's not
just
even
because
nice.
it's endorsed by
tried a
two
little
dickheads off
swig.
YouTube. I mean, who the fuck?
That's nudge,
I don't
innit?
even know who KSI and Logan are, to be fair.
Nor do I until all this, but
The prime drink, you know, they own like 20% of the company. The company owns 80% of the company. Yeah.
But it's still it's a drink that's been endorsed by a couple of fucking YouTube celebrities, and I just can't get my head around why there's such demand for it. Who the fuck's drinking this shit? And you know, is it any good?
It's like it's exactly the same as saying you like a certain character, actor, you know, that plays a certain character in a franchise, you know, and say, yes, I'm gonna go buy his film because I like his character. It's exactly the same thing, you know, just a way for you to give them your money.
I think you're probably right. I'm really just quite cynical about it.
Yeah. Batman says, I worked on the initial £10 billion super system, DIIF. Some of it has been made public, about £400 million worth out of the 10 billion. Wow. So I'm allowed to mention it.
And I'm assuming that was some sort of database. What sort of data were they collecting, Batman?
That's not even 10% of the system. It's 400.
It's not, is it? It's 0.4% of the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're allowed to disclose 0.4% of what 0.4% of the information were you collecting, Batman?
Yeah, the good part. Just the bit of the good part.
You're probably searching through his phones looking for nudes. I mean, how many intelligence staff in GCHQ do you think have decided to hack someone's phone and see if they've got any tasty nudes on there? It must have happened. If not at GCHQ, then at the NSA or something like that.
Have you heard of Echelon?
Echelon,
yeah, in Yorkshire somewhere. It's basically, I think it's the NSA, the FBI, the MI5, all them, and what they do is if you start saying a certain words in certain sentences, it will instantly go on to an agent, and then an agent will start watching what you're, you know, say like us now on a live stream.
The chances are we've already said pretty much most of the trigger words.
Yeah, definitely. There's possibly someone watching right now. Blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
I'm under no illusion that I'm probably on some sort of list.
Yeah, I don't.
Just because of the sort of subjects that interest me.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember back in the day before they had any internet record searches, you know, searches of your internet search history, on the school computer looking up the anarchist cookbook. You know, before they had firewalls and stuff.
Yeah.
Looking up how to make Molotov cocktails and how to hack payphones and make tennis ball bombs, pipe bombs, stuff like that, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, you should be
Um,
able to do that.
But if you
calm
search,
down
if
with
you
the bomb.
if you entered the Anarchist Cookbook into a Google search now, the chances are before too long you'd have someone knock on your door.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
essentially a terrorist handbook.
Yeah,
Do you know
I'm
what I
saying,
mean?
calm down with the homemade shit.
The homemade stuff.
Yeah, the homemade bombs or whatever. Whatever.
Oh no,
you
I'm
know?
not going to go into detail about how to do it. I'm just saying that there was a time when it was perfectly acceptable for that information to be online, and now obviously it's not. And like I said,
Yeah.
there's certain keywords that you type in now that obviously will alert the attention of people.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as we don't step in that direction, I'm happy.
They call it the Five Eyes, don't they? It's America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and UK. And it's like one system, the Echelon system that taps it.
Joint
Basically,
intelligence, in it.
yeah, and it taps your phones, your computers, everything, and whatever.
I think if I remember rightly, though, there is like a code that you can put into your phone to see if your calls are being listened to.
Possibly, yeah. I don't know.
The chat will probably know about that.
I remember Edward Snowden. He was the one who revealed most of this, didn't he?
And him and Julian Assange.
Yeah.
And who was he? Bradley Manning changed his name, didn't he? Because
Oh yeah, he's a woman now. Chelsea,
yeah,
isn't
Chelsea Manning.
it?
Tony,
Didn't they get
Garrett,
released?
Who?
Chelsea Manning.
Manning did, yeah, I think.
Didn't want it Obama that released them?
Yeah. But not Julian Assange.
Oh no, fucking hell! They had an add-on for him. Still do, don't they?
Yeah.
No money back or guarantees. To what matter?
he's singing the Only Fools and Horses theme tune.
Don't pay no income tax. Sudden poetry syndrome.
Yeah, Age, do you want to bring up the chart?
Which chart?
This evening's chart. The graph.
This evening's chart.
The graph.
All right.
Yeah, please. Let's see what we've done so far.
Where is it? Where is it? Can't find it now.
I've been writing
Oh, yeah,
a
I
lot
got
of
it.
notes down. You guys in the chat as well have been keeping an eye on you guys, writing down some notes as well. I'm gonna get back to some of you guys in the next live stream with these comments that you guys have got. If anyone wants to join the live stream, the panel, I'm more than happy to accept you guys on, whether you got a camera or not. Yeah. The link is pinned. If anyone wants to add. Oh yeah, is the graph there? Yes, here we go.
I think we covered everything really, apart from espionage, but that's more like James Bond shit, isn't it? And hanging out in hotels and spying on people. IMSI catchers nowadays.
If anyone doesn't know what espionage means, it's an act of obtaining secret or confidential information.
It's what you're likely to be charged with if you stand outside the US embassy with a camera.
Really? Is it that much?
Well, maybe not US embassy, but if you go to somewhere like the Air Force Base at Lakenheath or like Farlingdales in North Yorkshire,
Yeah.
you know, the big golf ball things that are part of the Star Wars defense system.
That's Echelon, yeah. Echelon's there.
Yeah,
Men with still.
Yeah. But yeah, they've also got those. They're actually radar domes, and they're designed to be able to pick up ICBMs coming on like almost like a polar trajectory over to the United States.
Yeah.
And the idea is to be able to intercept them with the Patriot missile defense system.
That's mad.
Yeah. Well, apparently it does it when they're coming back in, when they're on re-entry. So it detects them as they come over the Great Britain. At that point, they're probably just getting to the top of their their orbit. Essentially, obviously they're not orbital because it's going to fall back down to Earth. But it essentially touches the edge of space and then comes to drop down. And the Patriot missile system is basically designed to shoot any incoming missiles down as they drop in.
Like Israel's dome system.
Yeah. Iron Dome.
Iron Dome.
It works, does that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
They've also got some like directed energy weapons that they're using.
Ukraine
as
wanted
defense.
to buy it off them, didn't they? But Israel said no.
Well, I can understand why the Israelis said no. It's a sick system, and to be honest, it's basically developed off the American Patriot system. That man was Five Eyes interoperability manager. Rule was just don't tell the French.
With all this information gathering, don't you think the future is written because of this? Example like the 15-minute cities, isn't it based on all the information that they've gathered from us? We all want a simple life, an easy, happy life, you know. So if everything's close within 15 minutes, it's an ideal world, you know, for a happy person.
I think it's got more to do with the fact that Oxford, like many other places in this country, is experiencing a shift in demographics, and they want to keep certain areas as exclusive to people that reside in those areas. So they're discouraging people moving from one area to another. So say, for example, you live in one of these zones, yeah, and your kid's school is in another zone. Well, they'll want you to send your kid to the school that's closest to you, regardless of how good it is. But you might have been lucky and managed to get your kid a place in another school outside your zone, in a better zone, you know, where the school's better.
No, no, hold on. You used the example. I think I've got it now. Yeah, I've forgotten it. Sorry. Go on. Sorry.
Well, no, what I was saying was they make it so that whereas before it might have been a 10-minute car drive from where you live to your kid's school, they're making it so that car rides now is 40 minutes, 50 minutes long, because of the one-way systems and the road closures that they're enforcing. So, you know, I think that it's trying to defend the demographics of particular areas, because there's a lot of money in Oxford, yeah, and the people that have lived there a long time are the ones with the most money, and they don't want to see things change. So what they're trying to do is keep the people that live in the lower class areas in the lower class areas, so that they can maintain the nice bits of Oxford for them.
Yeah,
A perfect example of it. A perfect example of it is if you are a canal barge owner. So there's a number of canals that run through Cambridge. That's why they have those gondolas that go up and down the river and that, and on the canals.
Right.
And for the most part of those canals, if you've got a barge, you can just sail up and down the canal. But there are some canals that are private, that you can't take your canal boat on, because the people that live in the houses around that area don't want riffraff passing through on dirty old canal boats.
Sometimes, yeah. If there is, it's very hard to get private space on that canal.
Yeah, but there are, like I said, there's the main canal that runs through. Is it the canal, or it could even be a stretch of the river? It runs through the main university, and through past a couple of the different colleges in the university, and obviously that's all privately owned, so you can't sail up and down that. But you can you can use it if you've got like a gondola or a kayak or something like that. You can use it for that purpose, but you can't take a motorized boat up there.
Oh, well, if you can't take a motorized boat, then you can't take a motorized boat, yeah. If there's another route, then yeah, you don't complain. Just take the other route.
How long before you think we get to the point where we've got like gated communities like we have in America?
There already is, aren't there?
Years.
But they're like for the rich.
Wouldn't it be better like that though? Living just in communities, like 10,000 people in one community, another community, another 10,000 people, you know? Yeah.
10,000 people's too many. It's too many people to be able to develop social relationships with that many people. Your ideal sphere of human interaction should be around 300 people.
So then, which means the 15-minute cities are ideal, because that's how many people you'll meet. You'll meet around 150 to 250 people.
See, I think we should be looking at communities on a smaller scale than that, even, because, like I say, 300 people interacting on a daily basis, not necessarily a daily basis, but having 300 acquaintances, friends and acquaintances, probably is about as much as a human being can handle. And manage to do, keep valuable relationships with all of them. It's very, very difficult to do any more than that.
Unless you work in retail on the as a cashier.
Then you look at like Saudi Arabia's new city, the Line. Have you seen that? Everything's designed within like 1,000-meter blocks. So you've got like a bit of a shopping where you can buy your food, and then you.
But wouldn't it just get repetitive? It'd be like hairdressers, doctors, shop, clothes shop, police station, hospital, hairdressers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over again.
Well, they'll probably change it and have different zones and themes in different zones. I don't know. But I don't really like the idea, I suppose, of what they want to design. But That's what they're looking for. There's a guy in America. He wants to build he wants to spend like 10 trillion or something on building a new smart city in America, and yeah, all powered by nuclear or something.
It's all fear
Isn't that-
porn, pushing, trying to get the fools used to it.
Isn't
Yeah.
that what we want, though? Nuclear power.
Yeah,
We
I'd
want
say nuclear is the
fusion.
best.
Fusion is what we need. That's the holy grail, isn't it?
That'll be 30 years, man. Before
Yeah, but they've been
the
saying it's
UK.
going to be 30 years for the last 60 years, to be fair.
But we have we've got 2 in the plans, haven't we? And
Well, you know that
one almost
I think
built.
it was the Japanese cracked it, you know. They actually managed to
No, it's the French.
was it the French? They developed a reaction that they got more energy out than they put in.
Yeah. Fusion's ready now. Yeah.
But can you imagine what effect that's going to have on our economy? How many different? Because if fusion comes online and we develop the technology to be able to make fusion power plants quickly and cheaply and safely, how long do you think the fossil fuel industry has? And our entire economy is based on this, by the way.
Oh, it would collapse.
Our investment funds, the majority of people's pensions, a lot of them invested, tied up in fossil fuel futures.
Yeah. Well, they have to de-invest then, don't they?
See, there is absolutely no incentive. There is no incentive for business to produce a system where we can get cheap or free clean energy. There is no incentive for it.
No. This is why
The incentive is in the exact opposite direction.
there's not much money in nuclear, really, because it's just really cheap.
Well,
fucking
actually,
energy.
the uranium tends to cost quite a bit.
No, uranium costs about £50 for an ounce. I think it was £50 an ounce. And
Yeah, but have you any idea the size of these control rods? Do you know what I mean?
Massive, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it is expendable. It don't last forever.
No,
and what do you do
definitely.
with the waste? That's always the conundrum with nuclear, is what do you do with the waste? At least with fusion, you'd actually be solving 2 problems, because we have a shortage of helium on Earth. Although it's the second most abundant element in the universe, on Earth it's actually pretty scarce because it's lighter than air. So
but then there's trillions laying on the moon's surface.
yeah, there is, yeah. But the
Just on
issue
the
is obviously
surface.
getting that back. It's going to get to the point where we'll take it back down. But the actual natural byproduct of fusion, nuclear fusion, is helium, because you're fusing hydrogen atoms together to make helium, and the energy that's released is excess energy that's collected and used for power generation. But the byproduct
the Chinese
is helium.
and the Indians will get there first. Maybe.
I mean, the thing is about fusion reactors, they take a long, long time to make. The ones that are coming online now have been 30 years in planning. So the planning for them will have started back in 1990, and they're just coming online now. So that's one of the reasons why the technology takes so long to develop. Because we're saying, oh yeah, with the technology that we've got now, yeah, we've managed to get fusion now, yeah. But that obviously the second one that they make, if they decide to make another generator of the exact same sort, and it proves to be successful, then it'll take them a lot less than 30 years because they already know how to do it. They've done it once. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the thing with the it's like it's almost ties back to the development of Starship. The reason that Starship's development's so quick is because it's reiterative. So because Elon Musk doesn't have massive long supply chains, if he chooses to change the design of something and something else needs the design changing, it can do it because all the manufacturing's in his control. The thing with like the fusion generators, they're made using the technology that's available at the time when the plans are made. So the technology that the fusion generators that are coming online now are using was originally designed back in 1990, and because obviously nobody's got the benefit of prescience and be able to say, well, in the year 2020 we're going to have this technology and we can use that in the design. You can't do that. You've got to accept the parameters that you've got at the time when you make the design, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, look at Germany. They're shutting down 12 nuclear plants, and they're replacing it with like lignite, coal. Like, it's crazy.
Terrible idea.
Have you seen what those big
Terrible
machines
idea.
that they're digging out the land? Basically, they cut a whole village away.
Like strip mining.
It's basically just like peat. It's not even coal. It's like
strip
shit.
mining. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And I mean, you've got we are talking about intelligence agencies and secret services and stuff like that. Supposedly, still.
Yeah.
In the 1950s, the CIA was very heavily involved in trying to ensure that the commies didn't get a foothold on their back door. So they invested a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of man hours into various Central American countries. Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, all these different, they call them banana republics.
Yeah.
And the reason that they called them banana republics was because they had massive banana plantations that the Americans made a lot of money selling bananas from. And was it, have you heard of the Dole Corporation? Dole Fruit?
Yes.
Ended up basically paying for the CIA to orchestrate a coup in one of these Central American countries.
Oh, they put loads of shit in bananas, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Fucking crazy, mate. And what the CIA, for their benefit, they got to flood certain communities in America with certain substances that made them economically and productively disenfranchised, sociologically disenfranchised. So obviously, a lot of cocaine comes through Central America, and the CIA were aware of this. Have you heard of the Iran contraband? Yeah, where they were shipping guns down to South America and flying back with cocaine, lots and lots and lots of cocaine, and all this cocaine flooded into American cities, and it got cooked up into crack and absolutely destroyed entire communities. Horrible, horrible, horrible fucking drug. But basically, that's because in the 60s, yeah, there were serious concerns about the civil rights movement in America. Serious concern, that much that they brought the military in to bust some of the protest marches. Have you ever seen footage of the civil rights movement in America from the 60s?
Not really, no. I've seen little clips, but yeah, not. No.
Well, out of that civil unrest came a movement called the Black Panthers.
Yeah, I've heard of
and
them.
yeah, they were fighting for the way that they saw it. It wasn't just equal rights that they were fighting for. They wanted supremacy. And obviously the CIA, NSA, all the initials, they couldn't have that. And one of the ways that they managed to suppress that community was introducing certain substances to that community.
Yeah. It was
And watching the
proven, yeah.
fallout. And obviously then any sort of hope of having organized opposition dissipates, because when you introduce a lucrative trade in something like that, you get the victims of the trade, the consumers that get hooked on the drugs and commit crime in order to feed the habit and eventually end up incarcerated, which makes more money for the military. It's not the military, but the private prison corporations. Obviously, they make more money. So yeah, it's all one big racket.
Hello to Tommy. Hello, Tommy.
Tommy's logo is very similar to mine, isn't it? Batman knows nothing about drugs.
Should I show you next week's show or the next time we do a show?
What we're talking about?
Is it conspiracies?
Yeah.
Covered a lot of them tonight.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to tonight's, but tonight was more about the agencies and like nudge units and how they psychologically perform operations on us to stay in power, I suppose, along with the big corporations.
It's all propaganda.
Like,
we've been sold a lifestyle, and we've been told that we can expect this particular level of lifestyle. When obviously, I think we've been living beyond as means for quite a while as a country.
Yeah, probably, because we took from a lot of countries, and you look at all them countries now, and they haven't got much other than an airport, and that's about it. And it's probably got a British military base there, or an American one.
The Indians don't have any of that.
No bases, or
no bases. The only bases that there are in India are Indian.
That's fair enough.
They don't allow the Americans on. They don't allow the British on. But then the British and the Americans have various islands in the Indian Ocean that they can utilize if they need to. Diego Garcia, have you heard of that one?
Yeah, Tristan da Cunha.
Yeah,
that's disgusting what they did in Diego Garcia. That was Tony Blair, a lot of that, wasn't it?
Yeah. What did they call that? I forget the fucking term.
They basically moved all of the islanders off.
Non-judicial expropriation.
And then took it over and made it into a base, didn't they? Where they blow shit up to do experiments, and a lot of them got cancers and all that.
Well, no. That was are you talking about the Ivy Mike shit down in the Christmas Islands? Was it the Christmas Islands?
Yeah. Bikini Bottom, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bikini Atoll. Bikini Bottom's where fucking SpongeBob SquarePants is from. Just in case you didn't know.
Yeah. Bikini Atoll.
But no, on Diego Garcia, they had basically almost like Guantanamo Bay on steroids. Not as big, but like, I don't know, the hellhole of Calcutta in the middle of the Indian Ocean, where they used to torture people. It's essentially doesn't have any nationality in terms of ownership of it. So it's pretty much in the middle of international waters. So
Wasn't
you can,
Indonesia trying to claim it or something?
yeah,
The
I think
said
so.
no.
No, they were like, "No, well, we need this. This is just the perfect place to out in the middle of the ocean. Nobody can hear you scream, mate."
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, there's I think the Americans have got like supermax prisons on some ex-oil platforms.
Wow. Fucking hell.
That'd be pretty fucked up as well, being on one of them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no escape from that.
Well, have you seen the Face Off?
Face Off, yeah, that was a good film.
But that's got the that's a prison on a oil platform, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so they do actually have them, I think.
Madness.
Yeah, man, we're gonna end the stream soon.
So what do you reckon the biggest psychological operation of all time is before you end it?
The biggest
Psychological.
probably I don't know, there's a lot of stuff.
It's hard,
Christianity.
the monetary system, maybe. COVID-19.
Christianity.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Possibly. Or just religions in general, maybe.
Well, not all religions are created with the intention of. That's a cat's tail, by the way. Not all religions are created with the intention of controlling the narrative the way that Christianity is.
Yeah.
Christianity is almost, well, it has claimed the monopoly on truth for 2,000 years.
But isn't there like a few sects of Christianity? Like obviously you got the Vatican, and then you've got the Church of England, and then you've got the Eastern Orthodox Christians.
You consider any school of thought that has been around for 2,000 years is going to splinter at certain points within its history. It's inevitable. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the principle's still the same. The foundation is still the same. It's like, imagine the master religion being the mother tongue, and then all these little offshoots are dialects, regional variations, essentially. And when you look at one of the main reasons that Christianity was as successful as it was its ability to essentially co-opt the religious holidays of its target audience. So they were traditionally pagans, yeah? The people of Europe before they became Christians. And why do you think we celebrate Christmas on December the 25th? Well, it's because it's the pagan solstice festival.
Whereas the Eastern Orthodox, they celebrate it on 7th of January, I think.
Well, I think that if you were to go with the actual, you know, what it says in the Bible, Jesus was obviously born in the spring, because it mentions specifically that there are lambs in the manger when he's born.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get lambs in winter. Do you know what I mean? Once a lamb gets to a certain age, they kill it. And if it reaches, you know, if they're going to keep it and it reaches after that age, it's no longer a lamb, it's a sheep.
I thought like Christmas was when the three kings arrived, and that was the celebration of the three kings arriving. So the Jesus was alive for probably a few months, wasn't he? Maybe because the kings had to
Well,
travel from wherever.
the
I don't know.
have you ever seen the Zeitgeist movie?
Yeah.
The first Zeitgeist movie does a really, really good job of explaining the how Christianity co-opted the pagan belief in the solstice, and like the way that the stories are tied in with each other. For example, Jesus supposedly died and then after 3 days rose again. Yeah. So if you look at the stars at the winter solstice
21st.
22nd and 23rd, it essentially dies. The sun
Yeah,
dies.
it does. Yeah.
It's lowest point for the whole year, and then after that it rises again. It's born again.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there's a number of and just the way that they've certain aspects of the Jesus story essentially stolen from other religions throughout history. Is it winter in Jerusalem? Yes, Jerusalem's in the northern hemisphere, so because we are in winter in the northern hemisphere, so is Jerusalem. It's probably not as cold as what it is here, but it'll still be cold compared to what it is the rest of the year around there. Zeitgeist 4 coming out soon.
Ooh.
Sorry, local, click back on that last comment. Batman, don't knock it until you've tried it. Very roomy, smells great, and the prickly bits keep you safe from sharks. What the hell are you talking about, Agent X? I'm sure we all should be laughing at that. That seems like I'd love to know the context with what that was said.
Yeah, man, it's been a good topic, good chat.
I have enjoyed it thoroughly. It's been a long time since I've engaged in one of these.
Yeah.
Thank you, local.
Come back next week or next Thursday or whenever you can.
Sometimes it can be a bit tricky when we're working because I'm part of the productive workforce these days.
Nice.
So, if you can call making minimum wage nice, then yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. So, anywho,
well, thank you,
ladies and germs,
for jumping on the stream today.
You're welcome.
Take care. Cheers, recording reality for this evening. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Good stream this evening, Age.
Yeah. 3 minutes shy of 2 hours.
Yeah, man. I'll probably play the intro again, the starting soon video for the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we covered all of them today. So next week, what day is it today? Today's Sunday. So next Sunday we do it again.
Yeah, if you want. Yeah.
All right then. Next Sunday we'll be again live at 9:30. I'll probably start off with a different intro next time. But yeah. So thank you everybody for joining the stream. Thank you for all the super chatters. Greatly appreciated. Thank you to Batman and Robert, not Robert, to Rebel 1970. Thank you to Robert, and yeah, man. Thank you to everybody for bashing the like button, and I'll see you again. We'll see you again next Sunday around 9ish.
Take it easy, man. Have a good evening. Peace.